Welcome to Drinks in the Library, the only library where drinks aren't just allowed, they are required. I'm your librarian host, Gigi Howard, and each episode I'll be interviewing a guest about a much-loved book that we will be pairing with a drink for you to enjoy along with us or consider for your next book club meetup. As always, stay curious and support your local library. Hello, Libration Nation. We All Want Impossible Things by Catherine Newman is a tender, darkly funny novel about friendship, grief, and letting go. It follows Ash as she supports her best friend Edie through the final stages of cancer, capturing the small, intimate moments that define a lifelong bond. I loved having this conversation around this book with Lindsey Goldstein. Lindsey is the author of Gap Year, and her essays about love and parenting have appeared in the New York Times, the Chicago Story Press, and the Sunlight Press. She lives in Irvine, California with her husband, kids, and rescue mutt. You can find out more about her on her website, lindseygoldsteinauthor.com. She's also on Instagram and Threads at Goldstein Lindsey. We recorded this with a glass of Sauvignon Blanc. It's a favorite of Lindsey's, and I recommend it for this time of year, spring. I mentioned in the episode when we recorded this, we were in a false spring here in Virginia, but now I think we're a real spring. So pull up a glass of Sauvignon Blanc and enjoy along with us. Also, one last thing, if you are in the Richmond area on Saturday, April 18th, we will be having the Bon Air Book Festival at the Brighton Green Community Center. It's going to be a lot of fun. And at 3 p.m. that day, I will be interviewing award-winning author Meg Medina. We'll be talking about The Ogress and the Orphans by Kelly Barnhill, which is a favorite of Meg's. I can't wait to record this. Get your tickets now. I'll have a link to the tickets in the show notes for this episode. They're also on my website, drinksinthelibrary.com. All right, let's get to it. Okay, we're back again with another bi-coastal episode. Lindsey, you're in California, so happy Friday.
Thank you. I'm really happy to be here with you.
Yeah, so much fun. Okay, so you brought to me this book, and this is an audio app, but I have, for the listener, I have my library copy of We All Want Impossible Things by Catherine Newman. And I was just telling you before we started recording that I'm really enjoying it a lot. So, but I always ask, like, who are you when you picked up this novel?
So I guess it was a few years ago. Actually, someone I went to college with is friends with Catherine, and I saw she had posted something about it. And on a whim, I just picked it up, to be honest. I think this was her first adult novel, so I was curious to pick it up. And even though thankfully I have not gone through what the protagonist Ash is going through, it just really resonated with me. Just family and friendship themes and womanhood themes, especially. It was one of the first characters that I had read where the character was a little bit older and experiencing perimenopausal symptoms. And that was kind of where I was. So, yeah, so I just really enjoyed things from Ash's perspective. And I mean, I also love any type of book that will make me cry. But surprisingly, not only did it make me cry, but I laughed so many times. And her humorous bent on such a grave, I mean, no pun intended with the grave, theme as dying and being in hospice, just what an amazing writer. So, and then I will also add that I'm a physical therapist and I do home health.
Okay.
And so a lot of my patients, not a lot, well, thankfully not a lot, but I have encountered over the years quite a few who wind up on hospice. And so I know what that looks like. And so just to read a fictitious story that, in fact, I guess was true, if you read her acknowledgments, I don't know, overall, it hit home for me.
Yeah, for sure. And I also love to read. I love to cry.
Yeah, because it's like a good release, right?
Absolutely. And I've always just felt like if life is such a mixed bag of things, like, and if you live any life at all, you're gonna have your heart broken like a million times. So why not read a book about it?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I find that I cry at everything. I just wrote a newsletter today about my son and I just finished watching, I guess it was a documentary about dinosaurs on Netflix. And it was very, it was Steven Spielberg, narrated by Morgan Freeman. But I cried so many times because you know what's going to happen to the dinosaurs. But the way
Yeah.
they told the story over the course of the episodes, I mean, what an amazing species and what they survived and endured. And anyway, we're not talking about dinosaurs, but
Now I'm
whereas I cried so many times about dinosaurs.
Yeah, well, now I'm gonna have to go look this up for sure because that is right up my alley of like a documentary with these amazing creators and then talking
It's
about
really
dinosaurs.
well done. I highly recommend it.
Yeah.
So it's on
How old
there.
is your son?
He will be 11 next month, and actually today is my daughter's 15th birthday.
Oh, happy birthday to her.
She is waiting in the wings for me.
Okay, okay. We're gonna keep it moving. That I have an 11-year-old and you know this being a mom, it's like every year you're like, "Oh, this age is so much fun," and they all have been great, but I do kind of like this like little mini she thinks she's a little mini adult.
You just wait.
I'm ready. I'm ready.
Uh,
So talking about Edie and Ash and their stories. So they're friends. Tell us who they are, and we know there's hospice tied in.
Yeah, so they were friends from the time they were young girls. It sounds like they were part of each other's families,
Mhm.
basically. And they just were very intricately weaved into each other's lives over the years. And then now they're in their 40s, and Edie is diagnosed with cancer. And she has a son who is, I believe they said he was about 10 or 11. And anyhow, she's at Sloan Kettering. They basically say that she only has a finite period of time. And so Ash presents to her husband, Jude, who she's also close friends with at this point, that why doesn't she bring her home to Massachusetts where she lives? And there's a hospice just down the road from her house, and she will take care of her. And that way her son doesn't have to witness, you know, the very, very end, which is horrible. So he agrees somewhat reluctantly, but he does agree to that. And so she takes her to this hospice and she's with her every day. She's on call basically. And she spends her last weeks with her and just making sure she's comfortable. And Ash is kind of going through her own thing.
Yeah.
At the same time, she's separated from her husband and she's raising two daughters, one who's already out of the house and one who's a senior in high school and clearly kind of having her own issues. And anyhow, she is navigating all of this through a lot of sex with various.
Yes. That part threw me because I was like, at first I thought there's one character that she's like having sex with initially, and I was like, oh, okay, they're like romantically involved, and then there's a new person.
Yeah, and her daughter is kind of keeping tally of how many,
Yeah,
but it's clearly her coping mechanism. Like
absolutely.
she's not married. I mean, I think they're divorced. It's never really clear if they're separated or divorced to me, but
Yeah.
anyhow. But this is how she's coping with probably what will be one of the worst events in her life, at least to
Yeah.
that point. So, hey, who am I to judge? So that's kind of where they're at, Ash and Edie. But it's just the level of love between these two women is very evident in her writing. And then you can see how they were even when they were younger by their interactions, their comedy between them. And I don't know, it's just a lot of poignancy and humor
Yeah.
and grief ultimately.
Absolutely. I was sort of jealous of their friendship. Like,
Me too.
yeah.
I mean, I have really good friends, but none of my friends have stayed close by me.
Hmm.
Like my two best friends live in the East Coast and we see each other maybe once a year.
Yeah.
And, because of the time change, we don't talk as often. So, like you, I feel jealous of that type of friendship. I feel
Mhm.
like most people's lives are so busy. And so you put all of that busyness in front of your friendships. Friendships kind of come second. And so the fact that these two women could keep this friendship so dynamic and change with the years and so close,
Yeah.
is that possible?
No, that was my thing is like I actually have very similar situation is like I would say the two people that have been my best friends for, over 20 years now. I'm from North Carolina. They're still there. We do talk, we keep up, we love each other. But and if we got to this stage, but I mean Ash and Edie have been ride or die this in their entire lives. And yeah, it's like a sisterhood, really.
Yeah. It's like Thelma and Louise.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's, unless you're going to sacrifice some other part of your life, if you have, a partner and kids, it's just something else has to go.
Yeah.
So it did make me kind of envious as well.
Yeah, for sure. And I don't know. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my questions because I keep wanting to talk about death and hospice.
An uplifting Friday
Yeah.
afternoon.
I guess a little bit. So Ash is dealing with the death and the pain and also her divorce. She's having lots of sex, which we're very happy for her about that.
Yeah.
I guess, like, what's the vibe of the story? Because, yeah, it's sad. It's so sad. I mean, there's a scene I have to tell you, and I try not to do spoilers, but there's a scene where they look across the hall at the hospice care, and there's a family in there, and they make the wrong assumption about who is dying. And I was listening to it, and I'm like driving my car, like tears are just streaming down my face. So, yeah, what is the vibe of the story? I mean, like I'm crying, but I'm also laughing.
I think that, like I said in the beginning, what attracted me to it. So I deal with anything difficult in my life, sadly, through laughter. So I
Yeah.
think that that's the vibe is you're in this horrific, grievous time, but the best way to kind of cope with it is to find the funny. I mean, I hate to say it, but I mean, there's all these scenes where, and ultimately I don't want to give anything away because things consistently turn sad. But, it's funny that there's this old woman who only watches Fiddler on the Roof at full blast, like every day. And they all know the lyrics of all the songs now because she has to have it on. And, that there's a golden retriever named Farrah Fawcett who comes in and like eats all their food, even if it's something disgusting. And like, you know, the, I don't know. I mean, the fact that she goes into detail about their rigmarole every time a body needs to be removed,
Uh-huh.
and it makes it funny that, they all have their roles, the staff at Shapely, that, each person is assigned to a different room to kind of distract the residents from the fact that they're carrying a body out. But, Ash is not, she's not naive. She knows what's happening.
Yeah.
Edie knows what's happening, but yet
Yeah.
it's kind of funny that they have
Yeah.
this whole process. And so I think the vibe is just, learning to see the light, I guess, for,
Hmm.
that's cheesy, but I guess that's what it is in the darkness, seeing still the light, the constant light, knowing that we're all going to wind up there,
Right.
enjoy every last minute that's positive.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. Death is a part of life. I mean, there's so many platitudes I guess I'm thinking of throwing out, and I'm not an expert on all this, but I came from a family where we always have had open casket funerals.
Hmm.
And my dad always was like, was very important to him that we saw the end and we saw that the body afterwards and that it wasn't made weird or taboo or anything like that. So, yeah, unfortunately for me, when I was growing up, a lot of people died. Not
Oh.
my parents, thankfully, but like other very close family members. And so other people have had more tragedy in their life than me for sure, by far. But yeah, I definitely kind of just grew up being like, you're gonna die.
And that's interesting because I grew up never having seen, the open casket.
Hmm.
And I'm a physical therapist, so part of our training was anatomy. And so I worked in a cadaver lab one whole year with 26 bodies, but they always kept the face covered.
Okay.
So I never saw the faces of any of these people. And part of that was because the dental school got to use from the neck up.
Okay.
But part of that was just to protect the privacy of the person as well.
Hmm.
But so anyway, to me, it just it was like a body part, you know? And then my husband was raised in a family where they do open casket. So
Hmm.
his father passed away 9 years ago, almost 10 years ago.
Hmm.
And that was the first time I was going to view a body in a casket, and I was so nervous. I remember I was like sweating and like my hands were clammy,
Yeah.
and I'd already seen all these dead bodies, but this was different. Like this was someone I knew. And he was wearing his glasses, and it
Hmm.
really bothered me because I was like, he doesn't need his glasses. Why did they put
Oh,
but they wanted to, I guess, preserve him the way he looked in life.
oh,
Anyway, I just stood there staring at him, expecting him to just start talking to me, you know, kind of like
yeah.
I used to watch that show, 6 Feet Under. It was one of my favorite shows.
I love
And I
that
just
show.
expected the body to just start talking to me. And so it was super jarring for me. And I haven't thankfully been with a person as they are dying, but
Yeah.
I was with my dog, two of my dogs, as they died. So
Oh, Lindsay,
see the
you and I are gonna make each other cry.
I was gonna just say you see the transition though
Oh
from
yeah.
animated and alive to just gone. I mean, you really see how the body is a vessel.
Yeah.
And I think that like, you know, I'm not giving anything away by letting you know that Edie does die, but
Yeah.
the scene where it's just, you know, her description of that was
Yeah.
very resonant of just what happens.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yeah. That moment. I do feel like if you're in the room when a human or a dog or they pass, I do feel like you can feel the spirit like leaving the body, which is just painful, but like also a very beautiful experience. So
it is. It's in some strange way comforting, knowing
yeah.
that, you know, that's not there anymore. It went somewhere.
Yeah.
So
We'll
anyway,
find Lindsay, we'll find out on the other side. Oh
yeah,
my gosh.
podcast in the sky.
Um, okay, I wanted to, okay, first of all, not first of all, 20th thing I brought up. So we are drinking Sauvignon Blanc, right? That's so
Just
cheers. Yes,
cheers.
it's perfect for this time of year. I don't know what your weather. We're in our falls. So are you from the East Coast originally? You said your friends.
I went to college in the East Coast. So, but right now here it's 85. We're having a
Okay.
massive heat wave, so it's super hot. That's why I'm
Well,
still sweating in a t-shirt and we have the AC on.
well, I'm very so, but you went to college on the East Coast, so I think anywhere on the East Coast is like, oh, Virginia weather, North Carolina weather, New York weather. Y'all, it's all about the same. It's just a little bit difference of the temperature. We have false spring, second false spring. So I just think about the drink, the Sauvignon Blanc, because it's perfect for spring. But we had false spring. Our first one was last week. It was like 85. And then it snowed yesterday.
Yep.
Like, I'm not even joking. It's stuck. It's stuck.
Yeah, I remember that happening when I was living in the East Coast.
Yes. So Sauvignon Blanc is great for spring, but we picked it because Ash is drinking quite a bit.
She drinks a lot of wine.
Uh-huh.
You're on a story, like a lot of wine.
Hmm.
I don't think she discriminates against the type, just drinks a lot of wine.
Yeah. So,
Uh,
yes, I think any kind of wine you pick is good for this story. But yeah, I love the Sauvignon Blanc. So
yes, me too.
bring it on. Tell me about the author's experience with this kind of being based on her real life, because I think I knew a little bit about that, but then you brought up so.
So I gleaned this from the acknowledgments
Hmm.
that this was her story with her best friend because she does acknowledge that wherever her friend actually is, she wants her to come back to her. And she talks about all the people who worked in the hospice, I'm assuming, where her friend passed away. So I'm guessing that a lot of this is autobiographical. And also, I have I follow the author, Catherine Newman, and I read her newsletter on Substack and everything. And I've also read her next two books, Sandwich and Wreck. And I get the sense that she infuses quite a bit of her home life into her books, just the ages of the children. I think she has a boy and a girl in real life, but I think that a lot of her goes into her storytelling. So,
Mhm.
but I don't know any nitty-gritty details about her friend passing.
Okay.
I'm not, I mean, my friend is friends with her, but I'm not, I don't know Catherine myself.
Well, what do you enjoy? I was wanting to ask, like, what do you enjoy about her newsletter?
She's hilarious, first
Okay.
of all. Like, she's just funny and she's very personal.
Mm-hmm.
And then she always writes about what she's cooking. And what she eats aligns very closely with what I like to eat. I've actually downloaded a lot of recipes from her newsletter and made some of them so far, but
Okay.
her books have a lot of cooking in them. But her daughter actually in We All Want Impossible Things does a lot of the cooking, and the recipes always sound kind of delicious. And then there's a lot more of that in her next two books.
Oh,
Her newsletter, she always talks about what she's reading, what she's cooking, and then she'll give little just snippets from her life of what's going on. But the way she writes is just, it's like you're having a conversation with her. And I think her writing in general is like that. That's why I like it. It's very
mhm.
accessible, but
Yeah.
yet very intelligent. So,
Yeah.
but you should check out her newsletter. I think it's called something about a crone. I can't remember, but if you just Google her, Catherine, it'll come up.
Okay, very cool. What kind of things do you like to cook? I'm curious now.
So I'm a vegetarian, not
Okay.
a vegan, vegetarian. I experiment a lot, much to my kids' chagrin. I mean, I kind of know what they like, but I will throw something different at them. But I like to cook pretty much anything I will try, but I love cooking Indian food. I love
Mm.
Italian food. Who doesn't? Like tonight, my daughter requested for her birthday dinner stuffed shells. So like with ricotta and lemon zest and
Hmm.
Parmesan cheese and like, I don't know. There's spinach that I first sauteed and then chopped up and put in there. And then I made the marinara and that they're nestled in. I just have to bake it.
Ah, that sounds really good. That sounds amazing. Okay, so you're like a little bit of a foodie, I think.
I mean, I love cooking. It's very
Yeah.
therapeutic for me. So
Yes.
I do it most days. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm not one of those people who I feel like I have to cook. I actually look forward to it.
Yeah.
I look forward to my shop that I do at least once a
Hmm.
week, sometimes twice, but like a good shop every week.
Yeah.
And they know me at the store, like with my list. And it's just like a nice time to unwind and think about things when I'm cooking.
Yeah. I'm the same way. And like honestly, my husband, I don't know if you've heard, he's cooking in the kitchen.
I can't hear him.
Okay, good.
What is he making?
Tonight is orzo, some kind of orzo and shrimp.
Oh, okay. Yum.
So I don't know what else is in there. I don't know all of them. Probably some lemon zest. He loves to zest things. He's a
That
big
will
fan.
pair nicely with your Sauvignon Blanc.
Yes, that's what I was thinking as well. So, but yeah, we're both like I think find cooking to be somewhat like relaxing and therapeutic, and I'll often be like listening to an audiobook while I cook. So like I absolutely love it. It's a lot of fun.
Does your 10-year-old eat that?
Yes, for the most part. Yeah. Oh, nothing too spicy. So we
Mhm.
have to sometimes, if we're making something we both like spice, we have to, before we add it, set some aside. But like more or less, she'll eat most things. She loves carbs. She loves sugar.
Or you said 11. She's 11. That's right.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, who doesn't love carbs and sugar? So,
Yeah.
and my kids are the same way with spice. Like I
Hmm.
said, I like to make Indian food, but I
Hmm.
like the medium spicy, and I have to
Yeah.
pull way back on that for them if they'll eat,
Hmm.
but they'll eat it.
Yeah. When she was little, she was super picky, but then like as she's gotten older, we've always found things like for most Asian restaurants will have some kind of dumplings on the menu. So initially that's what we got her into, but she's also like a little bit like like I don't know how to describe like a 10-year-old or 11-year-old as fancy, but like she likes things if she thinks it's special or elevated, then she'll make the effort for sure.
Very sophisticated.
That's where we're going, hopefully. So, okay, I all right, I want to talk about your book because you said this book was like kind of inspiring gap year, and so let's talk about writing that and how one thing led to another or what inspired gap year in the first place.
So, Gap Year is about a 46-year-old woman who her husband lets her know that he's fallen in love with another woman on the heels of their only daughter jetting off to Spain for her own gap year.
Mm.
And her boss, who she's been kind of like, they have a strange friendship, but like they like to pick on each other. But she's worked for him for 10 years and he's offering her a promotion to his position because he's resigned and he just assumes she wants it. So she decides that she wants to quit because now her marriage is crumbling, her only child has gone off to Spain, and what she had always wanted to do with her life was do a gap year in Ecuador when she was much younger and never got to. And she was used to be a budding ecologist, so she makes a very like the first impulsive choice of her life because she's a CPA and like usually very regimented.
Uh-huh.
Knows if she doesn't impulsively decide to do this, she'll never go. So she goes off to Ecuador, and her goal is to climb this Cotopaxi volcano because she feels like it'll help her figure out the next chapter of her life. And so there she meets a whole motley crew of new people, a woman, Laura, who becomes one of her closest friends, and she dabbles in a new romance. I won't tell you what happens.
Okay.
But anyway, it's her year of reinvention and figuring out in sort of middle age who she actually wants to be going forward.
Okay.
I was just going to say that so we all want impossible things. I was like, oh, here's a middle-aged protagonist. Like we can have these. We don't have to just read about women in their 20s, doing these types of things. So sorry, I cut you off. So go ahead.
No, no, no. Like, no, I am loving this. I think, did you read All Fours? So I don't think that that's like the first time, but I was excited that it like got I don't know, whatever people's feelings are on Fours, I know it's like, but I agree 100%. That was my takeaway on that is why, like, we need to celebrate more stories about people coming into themselves at middle age
Mhm.
and like gap year. I feel like when I turned 40, I had a total like, what am I going to do for the next 40 years of my life?
I mean, and you know the day's coming where you won't have kids to take care of. And even if you never have kids, like I think
Hmm.
people have this notion that they get to a certain age and it's too late, like,
Hmm.
oh, I can't do that, it's too late. And I
Yeah.
think that's what I was trying to impart with my story is it's really never too late. Like you can always change directions and do something different. And if there's something that you were absolutely yearning to do, you don't get another chance. And so my own story, like I didn't really start writing until I turned 40. And it was something where I had all sorts of hangups about writing. I always wanted to, but then I felt like I couldn't deal with rejection and, or people will read it and they'll hate it. And, there's a myriad of reasons. But ultimately I decided who cares? Let's go back to Edie. I'm gonna die one day. And
Yeah.
the last thing I want is to be gasping for my last breath and think, well, what if I never did that? Why didn't I do that? So I started writing then and never looked back.
Yes. Like everything you just said, I am like 100% the exact same way as like I think a lot about the end of my life whenever it comes. You didn't know no day is guaranteed. You're not guaranteed the next moment. And I don't want to waste a second
Yeah.
like because I'm embarrassed or I'm worried about what someone's going to think. I need to fulfill that. So yeah, I love that. And I love that for you. And I think that's like a really important message to everybody, maybe specifically other women.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they say here's another platitude, youth is wasted on the young, but
Mm.
it's true. You don't think about the consequences of not doing something when you're much younger.
Yeah,
And I think you get to a certain age and realize, okay, I have to do this now.
right,
So for like my character Jane, she realizes if I'm going to go climb this volcano, I kind of have to do it now, like
right.
when else am I going to have this chance? And also, I'm only getting older.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Have you been to Ecuador?
So I actually lived there I did a gap year, but when I was 18.
Okay.
So I lived there for a year. I repeated my senior year of high school for no credit. Like I deferred college and went.
Okay.
And I fell in love with the country. And then I spent another summer working in the Galapagos. Well, we can use the term working very loosely, but I was in the Galapagos for a summer. Somebody else recently is like, okay, that's another book.
Yes.
But And then I went back for a subsequent summer to do research for my thesis that we had to
Okay.
write to graduate. So I've spent a
Okay,
lot of
great.
time there, but not in a long time.
Yeah.
So I really hope to take my kids and show them this country that I love. And I think that I give enough imagery that some people have told me that I've had two people tell me that they booked trips to Ecuador because of reading my book, that it just sounded that exciting to them. So that's great. That's great for Ecuador. They need the tourism.
Yes. Oh, I love that so much. Yeah. So I'm guessing you are a proponent of gap years in general for kids,
I am.
young
And
adults. Yeah.
funny, I have been putting a lot of pressure on my daughter that I want her to do it, and she's convinced about a summer, but not necessarily a year. But my son skipped a grade, so he's in sixth grade and he's 10. And I said,
Okay.
"You're so young when you graduate high school." And I said, "I'm kind of feeling like I'm going to enforce this." So he knows that this is something that I really want him to do. He said, "Can I just spend a year living with you?" I said, "No."
Yes, of course.
No. So I told him, I said, I trust me, you will be so happy that you did something like that
Yeah.
because it's an incredible opportunity to learn another culture, another language. So anyway,
Yeah.
yes, anyone who asks me about it for their kids, I'm like, just do it. Just do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. 100%.
I mean, I didn't start college till I was 19, but
Okay.
who cares?
Yeah, absolutely. The college, you can be whatever age in college for the most part. I will tell you, I didn't do a gap year between high school and college, but I kind of did one after college because it was like I was an English major, right? And I didn't know what I wanted to do. And so a lot of people have done this. You go and teach English as a second language. So I taught English in Beijing. It's like sort of like what you're talking about. It's just like some of those experiences that I had totally reshaped who I was. I mean, it's a Beijing, China, the East is a different place than like even if you go to Europe or places like that, your mind will totally flip being in a world that doesn't have that same basis, really. It's totally different. Beautiful, loved it, great food.
Yeah. So did you learn to speak Mandarin?
EDR, that's a little bit in Chinese. I was actually like doing pretty well. I was like up to like between five, like probably like 750 words. Like I could get around in that one year. But then I decided I was 22, 23, and I just was like wanting to get home and live my 20s with my friends, which I
Oh, of
did.
course. Well, and that also is a much harder language than Spanish. So
Do you speak Spanish?
I
Oh,
do, which
yeah.
comes in very handy because a lot of my patients only speak Spanish,
Yeah,
especially in California. So
absolutely. Yeah.
it comes in very handy. And also just to be able to have a different conversation with somebody who is a native speaker. It doesn't translate exactly to English. You get different nuances when you're speaking to them in their language. So I enjoy that. And it just, you feel your brain working in a different way.
Hmm.
But my whole family has, like, my brother did a year abroad in Venezuela, and then he lived in Brazil for a while, and my sister lived in Portugal and Spain. So like all of us are like, we like that kind of thing.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
if your family fosters it too, it makes it easier.
Yeah.
So yes, I will keep chipping away at my kids.
It's a absolutely wonderful experience, I think.
Will you have your daughter do it?
Maybe. I think about it when I was like in my early 20s might be good. But yes, my parents, so my dad was in Vietnam and then got the GI Bill and went and his undergraduate was in German. And so then they went and lived in Germany. Like my parents got married in Germany. So like
Oh,
I always grew up, we would always go to Germany. We speak German. I speak some German, they speak fluently. Anyway, and then when I turned 18, my dad decided that he wanted to like start traveling to China. But yes, I definitely come from like that background of like traveling is so important and seeing
I
other
think
cultures.
it opens your mind. And I mean, I grew up in a really insulated environment.
Hmm.
I went to a relatively small college, so again, I would have gone to this another insular, environment. So to go somewhere completely different and open my mind, I think,
Mm-hmm.
like you said, it shaped who I am today. So,
Yeah.
and I tell my kid, I mean, we live in Irvine, so like you can't be more sheltered. And I said, you got to get out and like see something else. So, and then it'll make you appreciate where you come from too. So I have to tell you, you're in Virginia, right?
Yeah.
So my mom has always been a huge Civil War buff.
Okay.
When I was in college, I took a course one year about the Civil War. So at the end of the year, she flew out to meet me and we drove. Basically, we followed the demise of Lee's army down to
Okay. We
Richmond.
love this.
And it was such, I mean, for me, like, talk about a huge cultural difference because we ran into so many reenactors. It just coincided with a reenactment. So we got to go to one. We would run into them in the various museums and battlefields.
Yeah.
They were so incredibly knowledgeable, like to the second of what happened. And
Hmm.
I don't know, I really enjoyed that whole area. I mean, it's just very different for me growing up in California. And then
Uh-huh.
the upper East Coast for college. So it was very different going a little bit further south. And I want to keep exploring the South. So do you consider yourself the South or the East Coast in Virginia?
Yeah, well, no. I always call Virginia the South Light.
Okay.
Technically we're the South, but I'm like barely the South. Because I'm originally, so I was born in Atlanta, grew up in Charlotte, North Carolina. I consider Charlotte my hometown. And then I'm now in Virginia. And I would also say North Carolina is a little bit the South Light. And I've lived in Charlotte and Richmond, so those are more urban areas. My husband is actually from more of a country side of North Carolina. So, but yes, technically we are the South. I also consider myself very East Coast because my mom's family's from New York. So,
Okay.
but yeah, I'm always like, I'm not leaving the East Coast.
Well, I enjoyed it. We're
Good.
planning for more southern trips.
Okay, well, good. Well, if you come through Virginia, let me know. Richmond is a really cool city.
Yeah, my
Um,
mom and I did visit Richmond. That's where just outside was where we saw the reenactment.
okay, yeah.
But yes, I would look you up.
Okay,
And
yeah, yeah. Lots of Civil War stuff around here. I mean, it's an important part of history for sure.
that's
Yeah,
fascinating.
it is.
And everything's so well preserved. It was incredible to stand on battlefields that were just gorgeous and to
Yeah,
the horror that went on here.
yeah.
So anyway, well done to that part of the country for preserving that.
Oh, I will tell you, as someone that like lives in those areas, though, we'll go travel somewhere and then we'll drive by and they're like historic battlefield, and I'm like, right here? We're not always thinking about it so much, but yeah, it's like you'll just drive right by it and they're like million people died here, which is horrible. So,
Yeah, no,
yeah.
it is, but we don't have as much of that in California. So,
Yeah.
but I was like an absolute geek in Boston, just all of
Yeah.
the landmarks there, the people who are buried there, and anyway,
Yeah.
that's a whole other topic. So,
Yeah. You and I are having so much fun. I want to come back just real quick to We All Want Impossible Things and just ask, like, who would you recommend this story to?
I would recommend, I mean, I think it's more of a book that women would enjoy than men, but I think anyone from the age of 30 up to 80 would enjoy this book. I think anyone who, like us, envies the female friendship or has female friendships that they miss, like, I think this is a good book for you. But basically, anyone who enjoys a book that is sad but comes at it with a funny bent, I think that it's for you. I think it's smartly written, very accessible. Like I hate to say it, but it's almost like a beach read in a weird way. So
Your classic hospice beach read. We all know it.
I mean, there's a lightness to it though. So
Yes.
I think that it's a quick read. That's what
Yeah.
I guess I'm saying. So if you're
Yes.
looking for something quick, that fine. If you want to read it on an airplane, that kind of thing. You're not going to get it's not like reading the Odyssey.
No, yeah, I am legitimately like really enjoying it. I will tell you, I told you before we started recording, I just came from like my neighborhood happy hour and like all my neighbors like know about the podcast and like, so what's the book? And I told them and then like one of them was like, I gave it 5 stars. Like she had already read it and she was like, that was a really good one. So
Oh,
I highly recommend it too. So
okay. Well, I love that you have a neighborhood happy hour. That's awesome.
we're very close. Yeah, shout out to my neighborhood. It's the
I love that.
yeah, we
Don't
love
ever move.
no, we're gonna die here. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Oh, well, hopefully not for many, many years.
Yeah. I want to take a second and point a spotlight on you. Like, what are you working on next? Like, where can people find you? All that fun stuff.
Yes, thank you. So I am writing another book now that's, basically it's sliding doors meets Stranger Than Fiction.
Okay, I'm sold.
Well, great. So it's I haven't yet determined the genre. It's not really women's fiction because there is a magical element to it. So I guess it's more upmarket fiction, but it also has a 45-year-old protagonist. So I'm
Mhm.
sticking with that. And so that I'm on the third draft and I'm hoping to have that done. I keep saying by the beginning of the summer, but
Okay.
we'll see what happens. That's still my goal is to have it done by the beginning of the summer and to try to find a home for that. And then people can find me on Instagram at Goldstein Lindsey. Same thing for Threads. I'm also on Substack, lindseygoldstein.substack.com. And I have a website, lindseygoldsteinauthor.com. I think that's everywhere.
Okay.
I mean, you can find me running around my neighborhood. I do that a lot. But otherwise, yeah, I think that's pretty much where you can find me. And hopefully, when my next book comes out, I'll be driving people nuts.
Yes. Well, I'm excited. I sliding doors is like one of my favorite it's just so iconic at this
Mhm.
point, you know, it's like the sliding doors concept is just anyway.
And I've totally dated myself with that reference, but oh well.
Anyone that doesn't get it, just
Yeah.
don't worry about it. You
Yeah.
missed out.
But I hope that it's a little bit more original with the stranger than fiction element. So,
Yeah.
but we'll see. It's coming together. I've been having beta readers and moving along with that.
Yeah.
In the meantime, people can read Gap Year and hopefully like it. And it's available anywhere you can buy books.
Yay. Okay.
And at the library, if libraries order it, that would be very helpful.
Okay. A lot of librarians listen to this podcast for sure. So
I
you
would
got
be grateful. It did get a book list award, so
okay.
librarians, pick it up for your library,
You,
please.
Lindsay, this is like literal. This has been a literal blast for me. This is the perfect way to kick off my weekend, and I hope it's been the same for you.
Absolutely. I've loved
Yeah.
it. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Uh,
Happy birthday to your daughter.
thank
I
you.
hope
Thank you.
y'all have a lovely night and cheers.
Thank you. Cheers. Have a wonderful
Yay.
weekend.
You too.
Thanks again.
Thank you. Thank you for spending some time with me and my guest for an episode of Drinks in the Library. For more information about the show, you can find us on Instagram at Drinks in the Library, on the World Wide Web, drinksinthelibrary.com, or shoot me an email at drinkspod@gmail.com. Until next time, cheers.